Hey, all, welcome. I am so excited to be talking to Jeanetta Garrison today, sharing her private practice success story. We're going to be talking about what it takes to create a full and happy private practice. We'll even be talking about best practices of what to do when you're full so that you don't drive yourself crazy in terms of a waiting list and playing phone tag with potential clients and all of that. We're going to be showing you what a beautiful therapist website looks like, what a high converting website looks like. I'm talking through some of the decisions that Jeanetta made that saved her a ton of money and gave her a beautiful branded website. If you have questions about private practice, whether that is starting or getting full or what to do when you are full, start posting them now and we'll be happy to answer them. So do you want to introduce yourself, where you're located, and your specialties?
Sure. I am Jeanetta Garrison. I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm licensed in North Carolina and in Florida. My area of specialty is working with high achieving adults with anxiety.
Awesome. And why did you decide to, just in like 1 minute or less, why did you decide to become a therapist?
Wow, 1 minute?
Right?
I think that it's always been a part of just me, my personality, talking to people, assisting people. I'm also, I like to think I'm quick on my feet. This might be bad. And so I just kind of went to school to kind of sharpen the skills that I felt like were already in me.
Yeah.
And I also like to help people to understand sort of the whys for things that are happening in their life and
Mhm.
understand maybe the origins of them and how they can make some sustainable changes.
Oh, I love that. I love too that you can see and identify that it wasn't just about, I went to school to do this thing. It's
Mhm.
that, like, I had this thing in me already. I
Mhm.
went to
Yeah,
school to hone something that I already have and I came in
definitely.
with. And I think a lot of therapists forget that somewhere along the way of school and licensing and certifications.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get disconnected from like our intuition, or our, however you want to say it, like our God-given like purpose
Yeah.
and talents and like what we were like built with. And knowing that a really good program, a really good practice of what we do should be like tying into like who we deeply are, and
Mhm.
like bringing that to the surface. It shouldn't be about tamping that down.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then for me, I decided to get my MSW social work because
Mhm.
I have this strong sense of justice, advocacy, empowerment. So that's the route that I chose.
Yes, and again, it was like the thing of like, where, if this feels good to me, like this is
Yeah.
the place where this is in alignment. Awesome. And then when did you decide to go into private practice, and why?
So I had kind of been toying with the idea of private practice for a while, for a long
Mhm.
while. It was always one of those one day, one day I'll be in private practice, one day, it's sort of those far off dreams. But then it got more real for me in 2020, 2019, 2020. So to speak, it
Mhm.
got more real for me. And I have been talking about it with friends, with colleagues, and they were just like, "What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? You've done all these things. You've done all these different things that you've done, all these experiences that you have had. Why are you afraid? Go for it." And it was just kind of
Mhm.
like, yeah, why am I afraid? Am I letting my fear stop my dream? I don't want to do
Mhm.
that. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Was there, for some people it's like a thing that happens over time, where it's like suddenly like it's a yes. And then for other people it's like a particular conversation, a moment with a friend, or a
Mhm.
something moment. For you, was it just like several conversations over time, or was there like a pivotal moment where you're like, it's time?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. There actually was one conversation
Mm,
that I had with a colleague slash friend,
mhm,
and I was just telling her I'm nervous. I don't want to mess up, and this and this.
mm.
You know, all the fears, right? All the fear of
Yeah.
talking. And she was just like, Jeanetta, you have traveled the world by yourself. Like I used to work as a contractor for the military, so I've
Uh,
traveled literally everywhere by myself doing my job and
yeah.
helping folks. And she's like, Jeanetta, you've done all this. What are you afraid of? And I was like, you know what? You're right. That it doesn't make any sense logically. My fear made no sense rationally. And I was like, okay,
What
yeah,
was
you're right.
what was your friend's first name? Do you want to give them a shout out right now?
My friend Ama. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got started in the sounds like the beginning of 2020. You actually
hmm
started the process of opening up. How long did it take you to actually be ready for your first client?
So I started 2020, like January 2020, with the filing the paperwork and the all
Mhm.
those, behind the scenes things that you do. I got my first client, I believe, in March of
Mhm.
2020, right when the shutdown happened. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
a couple of months. Yeah.
Okay. What was it like in that in-between place? And what were the things that you were doing to kind of get the ball rolling between January and March?
Yeah, so between January and March, I had a few conversations with friends who are already in private practice, just kind of figuring out, well, what am I supposed to do? I want to be in private practice. What are the steps?
Yeah.
And I was working on my previous website, my original website, working on that with the help of my cousin, helped me out with that. And created profiles on like different therapist directories. So trying to bring in the first client, basically getting the word out that, hey, I'm open, I'm here, I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So thanks, Maria. We're glad that you're here listening to the conversation. Send us your private practice questions. So you mentioned the first website. So how did that first website work for you?
So the first website, I felt like it was um starter. It was a starter website. It was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I have a business, I need to have an online presence.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is. And I had no idea about, well, what actually makes a good therapist website. It was
Mm-hmm.
more so about, oh, I like these colors, I like this font, I like this picture, the picture with the rocks and the stacked up.
Did you have the stack rocks?
I
Oh.
did. I did. It's like, oh, every therapist has the stack rocks. I should get the stack rocks.
And then you hear us on a training
Yeah.
going like, therapist, stop with the stack rocks. You're like, I'm being personally attacked. Like, what's going on right now?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. And it was just it was basically just like I said, a starter website. It was
Mhm.
DIY, which it was. And like I said, my cousin helped me a lot. So I appreciate her
Mhm.
help and her time with
Yeah.
that. But it wasn't, I always felt like it could be better. And I didn't necessarily know the specifics of even how to make it better.
Yeah. And now look at her website, y'all. Look at this gorgeous website. What what shifted for you? How did you start learning about how to actually do a website and getting these gorgeous pictures on here and
Yeah.
putting these messages? What shifted?
Boot camp. Business school for therapists. Yes. That is, yeah, that was everything. That was the game changer for me.
Mhm.
Going through the different modules in the, I want to say boot camp, going through the different modules in the business school helped me to go literally page by page, what
Mhm.
needs to be on the website, the copy on the website. I remember when I went through the first round of business school, I posted a question, and I remember Kelly looked at it and she was just, with her kind heart, she was just like, this ain't it, And
I
I was
can
just
see where you're
like,
going for.
yeah. I mean, she offered
Mm-mm.
feedback, but what I got was basically my website, I told her, and I responded back to her and I said, I feel like I need to just hit delete and start over.
Mhm.
Start completely over. And so going through the different modules in business school helped me with the copy of,
Mhm.
how to write my ATP, how to actually connect with the person that I'm seeking, as opposed to using a bunch of therapist jargon.
Mhm.
Also, I learned about SEO. I learned about, just having a clear, so when you look at it, you don't feel overwhelmed
Yeah.
by a bunch of stuff happening in the background. And then you asked about the photographs.
Yeah.
I use shoot.com for both of my photo shoots. And I learned about shoot.com through business school.
It's I think there's so many things that happen. I think um it's such a fun thing to be able to connect and make it as easy and cheap as possible, to realize like, oh, I can get like a great professional headshot for 15 or $20 a
Mhm.
picture,
Yeah.
and create this like beautiful professional website either on my own or with the help of a designer. I think there's a lot that happens when we're starting out where we think that a really great website is just something where you go to this person and you say, hey, I need a really great website. And then like you pay them, 500 or 1,000 or $5,000, and then you just have a great website. And like
Mhm.
it's just a transaction. And then you start to dig into it and you realize like, oh, I have to really understand who I am,
Mhm.
what I do, who my ideal clients are. I need to be able to convey that, and I need to write that up for this person, and for the person that's designing my website, even if I am outsourcing it. And then I need to like choose pictures for them. I need to take pictures of myself that they can use. And I think this is the other part too. I do notice that you have a logo, but realistically, if we were to take your logo away, right, and there was no logo here, your website would
Mhm.
still look incredibly professional. And the
Yeah.
images of you would still be the thing that draws my eye, right? The Crown Counseling and Consulting is
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that it's legible, right? So many people have logos. I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand. Like it's beautiful, all the good stuff. But ultimately, what do I see? I see you, and I connect in with you and go, oh yeah, like that's
Yeah.
someone that I could like have a conversation with. Like that's beautiful.
Yes. It's funny. So many of the clients or potential clients I get whenever I do consultations, they comment on my pictures.
Mhm.
One person even said, she said, when I saw the picture of you in the yellow sweater, I just felt
Mhm.
like that's what I need. I need some sunshine because I got a lot going on in my life and I need some sunshine.
And it is, and the fact that it's like in your house, right? I
Yeah.
can see the
Mhm.
same backdrop behind you,
Yeah.
right? All of
Yeah.
those different pieces.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And I think
Thank
it's
you.
also like it can be, how did it feel in terms of like vulnerability to go and get pictures of yourself and put yourself front and center on the website? Was that initially hard? Did that come naturally to you? Like what did that feel like?
Yeah, so on my first website, I didn't have pictures of myself because I didn't have any professional pictures. I only had like
Mhm.
one picture that was a selfie, but it kind of didn't look like a selfie, so I used that one. But then
Mhm.
with this one, going through boot camp, it was one of the messages was you need to have yourself on the website because people
Yeah.
need to know who they're connecting with.
Yeah.
So the first photo shoot I had was the first ever professional photo shoot that I've ever done.
Mm.
And through shoot, I was able to kind of indicate the purpose for the photo shoot as I was booking it.
Mhm.
And the photographer was amazing. I even said I've never done a photo shoot before, so she helped to pose me. She said that she really loved the fact that I'm a therapist and I'm getting pictures taken for my professional work and everything. She had a high regard for therapists, so she was amazing.
Mm.
And then the second photo shoot that I did that was in my home, she was also kind and amazing and everything. The one thing I picked up in between the two photo shoots was go online and look for poses because
Mm.
I had no idea what do you do with your hands? What do you do with your,
Mhm.
so I went online. I literally created a Pinterest board for myself of therapy private practice poses. So I just searched for images of like, okay, I need a pose like this, I need a pose like that. And I had the Pinterest board. So when the photographer came to my house, I just pulled that up and I said, I want these shots. These are the
Ah.
shots that I want. And she did them. We went through the list. She's like, okay, I got that one, that one, that one. And then she had some ideas herself, some beautiful ideas herself. And it was easy. It was painless.
Mm.
It was easy. Yeah.
I love that. If you're okay with that, I might steal that and add that in to our
Oh, yeah.
business school
Yeah.
recommendations, the shot list. I mean, sort of,
Yeah.
it makes sense as what people do for like a big event or a wedding or something like that. Like they know exactly what's there to have the shot list and not just leave it all up to the photographer, like
Right.
to make sure you're getting what you need. Did you do the like sometimes people even have the shots where it's like, oh, I want something that I can use later, where I'm like pointing at something or, holding something. Did you do that?
I did have a few where I was holding, yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm holding the whiteboard so that I can like
Yeah.
put something superimposed. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
all
holding
the
a
fun
coffee
stuff.
mug. Yeah, I have a few of those. I haven't posted those yet, but those are hidden away. I have those.
But you have it taken
Yeah.
care of for your marketing part.
Hmm.
What do you feel like has been the biggest impact? Because you're full right now,
I
right?
am.
You
Yes.
have your website now, right? If we were to go over to your contact page, it says like, "Hey, sorry, completely booked, but here's some options." Oh, I love you have resources, therapy for Black girls, fantastic. I might even say therapy den over psychology today if it was
Oh,
because
okay.
right? Psychology today has not always been great
Okay. Yeah.
to people of color. So
Okay. Okay. I had no idea. I didn't know. So I'll make that
that's
update.
okay.
Thanks.
No judgment at all. But like
Yeah.
just you might be like, oh, I'd rather give them some shout out. But
Yeah.
anyways,
No, good to know.
um, and then you have it set up so that there's like a little FAQs and that they can be on your newsletter. And so
Mhm.
then when you have an opening, you'll just send out an email and say, hey, I have one opening. It's Tuesdays
Yeah.
at 4. If you would like to set up a consultation, here's how you do that. Right.
Hmm. Yes.
And then
Exactly.
how long will it take you when you do have an opening and you want to fully open up your website? About how long will it take you to change your website out to make it clear that you're taking new clients?
Less than a minute because you just change the contact like I unlink that page and I link the old page.
Yeah.
So it's like easy, quick.
Yes. We have it all set up. We have
Yeah.
all those tricks in business school and that process.
Yeah.
What do you feel like has been the most impactful when you ask clients like, how did you find me, why did you choose me, what do you hear over and over again? You said definitely the images are helpful, but how are people
Mhm.
finding you? What are they searching for?
So a lot of my clients find me through Therapy for Black Girls. A lot of them. I started doing the call tracking
Mhm.
sheet through
Yes.
one of the modules. So I've noticed that a lot of them find me through there. A lot of people really connect to the messaging in my website. There's sort of an abbreviated version of the messaging on the different therapy directories, like Therapy for Black
Mhm.
Girls, Psychology Today.
Mhm.
And so they find me there first, and then they click on the website and they say, I feel like you were talking to me. I feel
Yes.
like, you were saying everything and you were calling me out on your website.
Yes. Yes. Have you had anybody in tears saying that yet? We were talking about that earlier that like eventually like you will
Yeah.
literally have somebody in tears saying your
Yeah.
website spoke to me. Like
Yeah.
that's what we teach.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that has happened. It has happened a couple times actually. People were just so overcome, I think, with the idea that I have finally found someone I connect with. Because searching for a therapist is hard. It's like
Way
really
harder than
hard.
it should be.
Yeah, searching for a therapist and then finding one who calls you back, who
Mhm.
contacts you, so you can actually talk to them. And it was just like, this sense of relief of like, I
Yeah,
finally, I can get started getting
yeah.
some help.
And I think this is the piece too, when it comes to looking at the way that we do our business practices. Like the work that we do is overwhelming. There's a lot that's on our plate. We need to come up with processes that, like, in less than a minute, you can make it clear in your website that you're full. So then that person doesn't have to waste their time making a phone call, waiting for a response. You don't have to waste your time kind of calling them to tell them that thing. Like, you gave them resources. And if they're not in a rush, if you're really the person for them, you gave them an option for how they can know exactly when it's there. Like, you just made the process 1,000 times easier for them in less than a minute.
Yeah.
So freaking gorgeous, right? I love everything about it. What's been some of the most surprising things for you in terms of starting a practice? What were the things that even with business school you felt like, oh, like that was harder than I thought, or like that took a little longer than I thought?
Yeah. Taxes.
Yep.
Understanding all the ins and outs of taxes,
Mhm.
and the insurance piece. The
Mm.
insurance piece was really hard, confusing, harder than it needs to be. But those were the major. Other
Yeah.
things were just like, well, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I kind of
Yeah.
learned as I went along.
Yeah.
And also managing my time, because there's a time that I spend working in my business and the time I spend working on my business. And I found that the balance wasn't even.
Yeah.
So even with that, I realized, okay, I need to outsource some
Yeah.
stuff. I can't do all of the things
No.
myself.
And I
Yeah.
think I think we think of a private practice as being something that is, 95% of it is going to be in with the client. And like maybe there's this 5% of a few other things you have to do to run a business. And then you get into it and you're like, oh no.
It's more than that.
Like
It's more than that.
this is an actual business and there's a lot of
Yeah.
things to work on it.
Yeah.
And I think too, if we don't outsource or streamline or automate those other tasks, they will come back to bite us on the butt.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think one of the major places I see is with the bookkeeping, that it's usually the place where people were kind of like, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that next week. I'll do it next week. I'll do that next week. And then tax time comes and they're like,
Mhm.
oh, I didn't do it at
Yeah.
all. And then you're trying to do everything from scratch at
Yeah.
that time. And then hopefully after that, you're like, oh, wait, I'm not going to do that again, and get into
Right.
it and love it, which is really good.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I think that for people, I want to go back to a couple of things in terms of advice.
Mhm.
When you think about somebody who's like you, who has a stream of private practice, who keeps saying like, okay, well, like next year, someday. What advice do you have for that person who keeps saying like someday about the private practice and keeps
Yeah.
pushing it out?
Yeah, I would say to that person, the same thing I said to myself, or that my friend Amma said to me, like, what are you afraid? Why? What are you afraid of? Look at
Mhm.
all of the things that you've done in your life. You've done things that are risky. You've embarked on things that you didn't necessarily know all of the pieces.
Mhm.
Um, why is this holding you back? And if it's something that keeps kind of dropping in your heart over and over and over again,
Mhm.
at what point are you going to honor yourself and
Mm.
do the thing that you said you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost becomes like at a certain point, and I know this is going to sound like kind of a harsh word or a strong word, but it almost becomes like self-betrayal at a certain point.
Yeah,
When you
definitely.
like when everything in your body or your soul is saying like this is the step and you just keep going, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And like it's sort of like, how long does it take before, when you betray yourself like that and you ignore your intuition, you ignore your body, how long until you start feeling depressed? How long until you start feeling
Mhm.
burnout? How long until you start feeling numb or frustrated or angry? Like your body's gonna like respond and say like, hey, you're not treating me well.
Yeah.
Like I've told you what I need. I told you what the next step is. And like, you're not listening and hearing me. You just keep poo-pooing me. And like,
Yeah.
this is our path. Damn it. Like, this is our
Mhm.
path.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Is your fear bigger than your hope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you give me kind of like a juxtaposition of like a day in the life pre-private practice and like what life looked like holistically and what life looks like now with a full practice?
Yeah. So immediately before private practice, I was working as a contractor, sort of part time. I was a contractor at one place, part time at another place. And
Mm-hmm.
so my days were, there was no, like, I
Frazzled.
mean, it was frazzle. It was like there was no real structure, it was all based on what others needed of me, my time. I had
Mm,
no autonomy over my time, basically.
mm,
And there was also always this feeling of I'm not getting paid what I'm really worth, and
mhm,
I'm not cool with that.
mhm.
um, and yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that coming up.
And can I ask this question because I have found for therapists of color, they find pretty consistently that it's not just like I'm not getting paid what I'm worth, and like, but also like in addition to therapists being underpaid as a whole,
Mhm.
like there is often this like, and I'm being underpaid more than that. Like I'm being underpaid more than my non-brown counterparts. Like what is that? Did you experience that in your training and development?
Not on a personal level. I think because
Mhm.
I never really asked people like, "Hey, where are you getting paid?"
You're like, don't ask, don't tell. I don't want to
Right,
know.
like, "What are you getting paid?" But, one thing that kind of always, nagged at me is people would hire me based on my experience, and they would think about how they can market my experience. So, like I said, I used to work as a contractor for the military, and so when people
Mm.
see that on my resume, they get excited. Their brain, like, lights up, and they're all excited, like, "Oh, how can I use her?" I was tired of
Mm.
being used. Yeah.
Mm. Did you ever have someone say like, what do you really want in this? And like, how can I help you get that? Like, there was none of
Mm.
that. Like, what do you want your specialty to be? Like, who do you really love to do your best work with? Like, none of that?
None of that, no.
Oh.
No, no. If there was a conversation like that, it was more so, "Here, these are the plans that we have for you."
And then, of course, those employers were like, "I can't believe Jeanetta didn't stay around. Like, why was she only here for a little bit? Like, I don't understand why we don't
Yeah.
have retention. Why does everybody keep going out on their own?" And
Yeah, yeah.
they're not really treating you like a human with like
Mhm.
desires and like a collaborative environment.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the
Ugh,
thing, oftentimes when you work for larger agencies, you don't have autonomy over your
yeah,
caseload.
yeah.
It's, hey, we have these clients coming in the door. We need someone. You're a therapist, you have space, see them.
Mhm. Yep.
And so with that, that allowed me to get a lot of experience kind of generally,
Mhm.
working with different populations. So I got to see what I really resonated with and what I didn't really resonate with. But until I stepped out on my own, I had no choice.
Mm.
Yeah,
And I feel like choice is so like sounds so cheesy, but it's so nourishing.
it
Like
is.
that
Yeah,
ability to like feel it in your body and say, this is a no.
yeah.
I'm not the highest and best for this person. This person's not the highest and best for me. Like even
Mhm.
just saying that aloud, like I feel it in my gut.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because we go through school and school says, hey, if you're not the highest and best, refer them out.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
find the person. And then you get into agencies and they're like, this is all there is. There's no one to refer. And we got to keep your census up. And you're like,
Yeah.
wait, I literally like, and it'll literally be that you are like in school and then you're doing your internship or your practicum and you're already having this like dissonance experience.
Yeah.
Like that
Exactly.
is crazy
Exactly.
making.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what does life look like financially and in terms of your autonomy and in terms of your like clinical joy and happiness or what have you? Tell me about like a typical day now.
Yeah, so things are a lot better now. Just the fact that I do have autonomy over the clients that I accept and the clients that I refer out
Yeah.
already lightens the load so much.
Mhm.
Because therapy is work. It is hard work. You're not just chatting with folks. It is work, but
Really?
when you enjoy it, it feels that way, like
Yeah.
you're just chatting, but you're not, you
Yeah.
know that. But just the idea that I have autonomy over my schedule, like I get to
Yeah.
decide when do I want to start seeing clients. And I'm not really a morning person, so I don't want to
Mhm.
do therapy at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm just waking up. I don't want to do therapy at 8 a.m.
And you don't have to.
I don't have to. I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I start, my first session is usually 10 a.m. And I don't mind working a little bit later. So I go until 7 p.m.,
Mhm.
which is good for me, like
Yeah.
with where I'm in my life right now. That's okay with me. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Um, and even, kind of going before the day starts to the consultation process, like getting to actually talk to people, and
Mm.
they see my website, they see the messaging. So they kind of have an idea of, would she be a good fit? And I say to them during the call, we're trying to decide if we're both a good fit for each other. And
Yeah.
so there have even been times when I referred people out, even in the initial consultation. I had the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
Just hearing what they shared with me in their areas of concern, I realized I'm actually not the best fit for you.
Yeah.
And I just frame it, just it's simple. Like, I want to make sure people get the help that they need, even if it's not with me. And
Yes.
so here's a list of people, or I suggest that when you search, try searching these particular search terms that might help you
Mhm.
find someone more geared to what you're looking for.
Where did you where did you get the confidence in terms of how to do a consultation with people and referring them out?
Yeah, so business school.
I was like, when you're like, hey, here's the thing, and I say this, I was like, that is in the script, like
It is in the script.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it
it,
is in the script.
and here's the thing about the script that I always think is funny about the consultation script. The consultation script is very near and dear to me because it was literally like my script. Like this is what I said to
Oh.
clients, like on the phone exactly.
Hmm.
It wasn't like Kelly's looked over it. She had a little different style, but like this is literally like what I say. So
Yeah.
when you say the things, I'm like, yeah,
Yep. Yep. It was the script. And I tweak it a little bit
yeah, of
to make
course,
it fit with like
yes,
my flow and stuff. But yeah, that was the thing, because
yeah,
it's not when you look at it as a business, you don't accept clients based on feeling emotional.
yeah,
You don't accept clients that way. You don't set your fee that way. It's all based on the business, what's best for the business, what's sustainable. Because
mhm,
sure, I can accept people, and I'm a LCSW, so I can work with probably just about anybody.
yeah,
But would they get the most ideal help?
yeah,
Would I feel completely exhausted and burned out after
yes,
a few sessions? Like, what do I do? What do I do? I
yeah,
don't want to operate in that way. That's not sustainable for my practice. So,
no,
being able to have the freedom and flexibility, the autonomy to be
yes,
able to set my schedule, set my ideal client, and kind of go from there. Yeah.
yeah. And how has all this impacted you financially?
Oh, great. So, yeah, great, because I think with being very clear on my messaging, it seems like it has drawn more people in. I don't know, versus saying like my previous website was like, oh, I can do this and this and this, like of the potpourri of who I can work with, right?
Yeah.
And I think kind of streamlining and niching down really helped, because if someone is looking for a therapist and they go to these different directories or they Google search, they can feel very overwhelmed and inundated with
Yeah.
what they see. So when they see someone that's like, oh my God, your site is talking directly to me, they're going to reach out
Yeah.
immediately. They're going to reach out. And that's,
Yeah.
that's what has happened. I think that has helped me to get a full caseload. Like, I think my caseload filled up in like maybe a month or two. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the piece too, is like that message to the noise. It's like the difference between a website where you're like, la la la, blah 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 blah, ding ding ding, versus like you're singing a song
Yeah.
and the person like knows the words and they're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like I hear my song being played. Like
Yeah.
I wrote that song. Like, oh my gosh, like you can hear that like from a mile
Yeah.
away. Like
Yeah.
you can hear it, you can feel it, you can experience it. Like, oh my goodness. And I think
Yeah.
Kelly's laughing at us in the background. She like hears
Hey,
she's like she's across the way. Just she's hearing one side of the conversation, which is always super fun. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. So I know like we've been chatting for a little while, right? So
Uh-huh.
went from this place of being a contractor at multiple places, no autonomy, no sense of like of people actually valuing you as a human or caring about your desires and needs,
Yeah.
to really creating a practice that was really focused on like, I am doing my heart's work. I am able to live my life and do my business in a way that's really sustainable. I can now be financially stable versus like all the weird stuff that happens when you're working for other people.
Yeah.
And you have this full practice and a full life. How does it feel in your body in this moment to have like done this and made all of this a reality?
Yeah, it feels great. It feels like I am in alignment.
Mm,
You know, like I'm honoring myself,
yeah.
and that feels great.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to put into words, but
Yeah.
that's what it feels like I'm honoring myself, as opposed to before I went into private practice, I felt like I was battling myself,
Yeah.
and now I feel settled.
Oh, so much more ease.
Mhm.
And then for other people who like you did decide to go into business school, was there a part of you that like second guessed that decision earlier or that was like on the fence about it when you found out about business school?
No.
No. How did you find
No.
out about business school? I don't think I know.
I think I got a random email about a training, I think a
Uh-huh.
documentation training or
Oh,
something.
yeah. Yeah.
And I watched that training, and
Mhm.
then you guys talked about business school, and I kind of just looked at the site and it's like, okay, I'm sold. I listened to the podcast episodes. I mean, I'd already like registered for it, and then I was still like listening because I just like listening to the podcast episodes.
You're like, this is inspiring. Like, oh, I'm getting all these like
Yeah.
nuggets of information. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're just in a place of like, oh, this is exactly what I need. Like the check by
Yeah.
check, step by step, do the thing. And like,
Yeah.
has there been a moment where you like regretted it or questioned it or what have you, where you're like, oh, maybe I should have done this other program. Like this was like not quite for me.
No, not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. It was an investment that I feel like it was what I needed and it was what
Mhm.
my business needed, because
Mm.
I did not want to be burned out in year one of being,
Mhm.
having my private practice. And that was starting to happen. It really was starting to happen. And so I
Mm.
was trying to figure out, what can I do so that I'm not burned out from the thing I said I wanted to do? I
You're
need
like
help.
you're like, "Wait a minute, doing my private practice was supposed to put me into alignment, and
Yeah.
I'm still feeling bad, like something's off." And then you saw this and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah, this is
this
it.
is what's in between." Like, oh, Kali was talking about the idea of like, here's my vision of what I want. Here's more of my practices right now. And it's like, how do we bridge the gap? This was
Mhm.
the bridge from like, oh, here's how I get to the actual vision that like
Yeah,
feels good and feels in alignment in my body.
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah,
What would
yeah.
you say to someone else who is on the fence about joining business school for therapists?
I would say do it. I would say do it. It's a worthy investment. And I love the fact that there's lifetime access. So if you think about it, for some people the cost may be the thing that it gives them pause. But if you think
Mhm.
about over the lifetime of your career, it actually isn't that much.
Well, even over a year, what would you say the ROI, the return on investment was even in your first year? How many clients do you feel like you scheduled with ease in your first
Yeah.
year of doing business school?
Yeah, I mean, it's like over 100% because with everything that I learned, like going through the modules step by step, starting from the messaging, the copy, figuring out who was my ideal client. I didn't know that before.
Mm-hmm.
How do I niche down? Like figuring out all these different things, learning about the numbers with the Excel sheets and the, all these different things. It helped me to make my practice a business. Not, I always say to people, this ain't no lemonade stand. So this is a business. Okay.
Yes, that's going on the website. That's going to be the quote from the thing. This ain't no lemonade stand. This is a business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love
100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Jeanetta. I am so excited that we got to chat today. For those of you who are checking this out, if you want to connect in with the amazing Jetta over in I was gonna say North Carolina. But South Carolina. It's North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, I'm not crazy. I was like, oh, I always panic. I'm gonna go ahead and put the her website in there. And then if you are somebody who is in private practice and you want a little joy in your life, business school is officially open. It closes next Friday. So now's the time to check it out. I'll put the link for that as well. We have some really cool things, including a bonus one-to-one coaching session for people who join by tomorrow. So that's something new. Janetta's like jealous of that, I'm sure. But until next time, y'all, thank you so much. And keep sending in those private practice questions. We are here for it. We're here for you. We need more amazing therapists out in private practice who are doing their life's work, who are doing their soul work, not less. And you don't have to leave the profession. You don't have to go to coaching just to make a sustainable income, just to do your life's work. You can do what you wish. You can really help people, and you can have a sustainable life while doing it. So we're here to help.